Why are minor scales so confusing? I mean, you've got the major scale, so you'd think you'd have the minor scale to go along with it, but instead you've got tons of different types of minor scales. Well, in today's video, I'm gonna help you make sense of all these scales, and by the end of the video, I think you'll see that the problem of understanding all this stuff isn't too difficult. In fact, you might even say that the problem is minor. Music with Mike. Hey everyone, my name is Mike Hilbun, and today we're going to be looking at minor scales. Now, not only are we going to be looking at probably the most commonly used minor scale, but we're also going to be looking at some of the less common minor scale forms, where you come across them, and the chords that define them. I want to take the opportunity to mention that we're going to be using a lot of the concepts that I've gone over in some of my other videos on theory. So if you're not caught up on those or you ever get confused, you can check those out right here. Now with that out of the way, let's get things started with an overview of probably the most commonly used minor scale, the natural minor scale. If any minor scale were to definitively be the minor scale, probably the best candidate would be the natural minor scale. If you were to write down a piece of music that's in a minor key, the key signature would reference the notes from the natural minor scale. I should also mention that the natural minor scale goes by a much fancier name, the aeolian mode. In our video on the major scale, we talked about how scales are made up of formulas of whole steps and half steps. Well, just like the major scale, the natural minor scale has its own formula of whole steps and half steps. If you were to compare the notes of the C natural minor scale to the C major scale, you would notice that the third, the sixth, and the seventh notes are flatted. Flattened? Flattered? Flatified? In our video on how to find the chords of a key, I explained the concept of how we use the notes in a scale to create chords out of them. Now, even though in that video we were talking about the major scale, the concepts will remain the same for the notes in the natural minor scale, as well as all the other minor scales we're going to look at today. We're still going to take each note in the scale and stack thirds above it to get our chords. To save time, I'm just going to go ahead and show you what the chords are in a natural minor scale, but if you get lost or confused, I encourage you to watch that video. So the first chord in the natural minor scale is, of course, minor. The second one, oddly enough, is diminished. The third one is major. The fourth and the fifth are both minor. The sixth and the seventh are both major. So you can get a feel for what the scale sounds like. I'm going to go ahead and play a popular chord progression that's written using that scale. Okay, great. So now you know how to find the notes in the scale, you know how to find the chords in the scale, and you even have a vibe for what the sound of the scale is. And that'd be great if the natural minor scale was the only thing you needed to know. But the problem is, songwriters and composers are always messing with things, so very rarely do they stick to just the natural minor scale. So what are some of the ways that they mess with the natural minor scale? When we looked at the natural minor scale, we saw that compared to the major scale, it had a flattened third, sixth, and seventh scale degree. Well, what if we messed with that? That third note determines whether the scale is minor or major, so we can't not have it flattened. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a minor scale at all. So to keep things minor, but to still give us some flexibility, let's look at what happens when we mess with the sixth and the seventh scale degrees. If we were to play a standard 1, 4, 5 progression in our natural minor scale, apart from noticing how sad it sounds, you might notice that it doesn't have the same type of tension or pull back home that the same progression in a major key would have. And that would be due to the 5 chord being minor. When the 5 chord is minor, it just doesn't have that same amount of tension or gravity or pull back to our home chord that a major 5 chord would. And you might say it has to do with the fact that the flattened 7th scale degree doesn't quite have the same amount of tension that the regular raised 7th scale degree has. So a very common thing to do is to raise the 7th scale degree, which has the effect of making the 5th chord in the key a major chord. As you can hear, this major chord has a much stronger pull back to our tonic home chord than the minor 5 chord does. This new exotic sounding minor scale is called a harmonic minor scale because, as we just discussed, the scale has a very rich harmonic texture, even if it can sound a little funky when played as a scale. Now, you could write an entire piece using this harmonic minor scale to get that exotic sound, or you can employ it just for a short moment to get that amazing tension that the major 5 chord brings. Let's see what that sounds like in context. Okay, so what about the 6th scale degree? When you raise the 6th scale degree of a natural minor scale, but leave the 3rd and the 7th flattened, what it produces is another minor scale form known as the Dorian mode. This is a very common scale to use in rock, funk, and pop styles. It's not quite as sad as the natural minor scale, and nowhere near as exotic as the harmonic minor scale. Now, when you look at the chords found from that scale and you check out your basic 1-4-5, 1-4-5, the most notable thing is that major 4 chord, which really gives it that Dorian sound. Check out this chord progression using the Dorian mode that features this major 4 chord. Each different type of minor scale has its own unique sound and flavor that'll be good to get in your ears and under your fingers. So for me, whether I'm writing a song in a minor key, learning, or transcribing a song in a minor key, I always use the chords from the natural minor scale kind of as a starting point. But I'm always on the lookout for those special chords I mentioned from the Dorian scale and the harmonic minor scale, because in my experience, those are ones that tend to pop up a lot in minor keys. Sometimes they might be mixed and matched with the chords from the natural minor scale, or sometimes they might be a progression all of their own, like the examples we played earlier. But like I said, in my experience, they're the ones that tend to pop up the most often. Okay, so I realized I talked about how you can mix chords from all these different minor scales together, but I never played you guys an example of what that might sound like. So here's an example of a chord progression that does that. See if you can guess what song it's based off of. So let me know down in the comments, what's your favorite song in a minor key? And don't feel bad if it's a song that nobody knows. In fact, you might even say it's better if it's not a major hit. God, that wasn't funny. Hey everyone, thanks for putting up with those awful puns. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover in a future video, just let me know down in the comments. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Anyways, I'm Mike Hilbun. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.